Hey everybody, movie reviewer next door here, and I'm back with another review. And this time, I have to talk about Saw 3. This is a horror thriller film from 2006, directed by Darren Lynn Bousman. Stars Angus McFadden, Bahar Sumek, Tobin Bell, Shawnee Smith, Donnie Wahlberg, and Dina Meyer. In this film, Jigsaw has disappeared, along with his new apprentice Amanda. The puppet master behind the cruel, intricate games that have terrified a community and baffled police has once again eluded capture and vanished. While city detectives scramble to locate him, Dr. Lynn Denlin and Jeff Reinhardt are unaware that they are about to become the latest pawns on his vicious chessboard. So, what did I think of Saw 3? This is easily the worst so far. Now, I know there are plenty of people who defend this. There are people who fucking hate it, like I do. It's not 100% a lost cause. There are good things in this film. It's just that a lot of them are wasted on fucking, it's like really fucking bad writing. And this whole, like, this whole review is going to be a spoiler review. Because I have to talk about the plot twists and how they affect the plot because it really doesn't make much sense. They're badly done, and yeah. Let me get to the cast first. Angus McFadden plays Jeff Reinhardt, a grieving father who's basically taking out his anger on his wife, his kid, basically everybody. He wants vengeance. Um, he gives a good performance here. The issue with that is that the character he has written is an unlikable piece of shit because of how I have to just go ahead and say, he lets everybody die. And the times he saves people, they die right after. So almost nothing he does, pretty much nothing he does in the film helps anything. And I understand it's more writing than the character acting on his own, but it got really fucking annoying really fucking quick. Bahar Sumek plays Lynn Denlin. She's a surgeon, Jeff's wife. That's a plot twist, I guess. She hasn't been in a lot of movies. She was in Crash, Syriana, Mission Impossible 3, and 4 other Saw films. I guess technically, I'm guessing they use a clip of her or she has a small flashback. She's not that great. I don't really buy her as a surgeon. I don't buy her acting. An issue with this film. Tobin Bell plays John Kramer slash Jigsaw. He's still really good, even though most of this film he's like on his deathbed, so he can't really talk that loud. He's still menacing and imposing. Shawnee Smith plays Amanda Young. Another big issue I have with this film is the way they handled Amanda, where half the time she's talking like a theatrical villain, where she's like, "Oh, you could try to kill me, but then the heart monitor would go bad, or you could kill me in a way where Jigsaw doesn't know." And then half the time she's crying like a baby, and I understand why she's crying. It just comes off so with the character that they're trying to give her, which is this like badass, like murderer type of thing. But you're not supposed to root for her. So why would you make her character? Why are you trying to make her character a badass when she's supposed to be like a secondary villain? I just don't understand it. Uh, Donnie Wahlberg as Eric Matthews. He's barely in the film, and I'll get to more of his character in the Saw 4 review. Um, and Dina Meyer. as Carrie. She's barely in the film, and I am disappointed in how they used her. And I'll get to that right off the bat. The way this film uses characters from the previous films is laughable because you have Amanda, who in the first film finished the Saw Trap. Shawnee Smith gave a great performance in that small bit and showed so much emotion in that small, like 5 minute long scene. And then the second film, she continued that with very good acting as this kind of character, and then you find out by the end that she is, well, spoilers for Saw 2, I guess. But if you're watching this, you've probably already seen Saw 2. Spoilers for that. Amanda turns out to be in on it. And up until that, her acting was really good in the second one. Now, her acting is, I don't know if it's the Darren Lynn Bousman issue or what, but half the time she's giving a decent performance, half the time it feels like she's acting, it's her first time acting ever. And I know that's not the truth because this actress was on fucking Becker. She's been in multiple movies. She was in the Blob remake from the 80s, which she was good in. Like, she's been in shit where she's been good. So I don't really understand what happened here. And I'm sorry if I'm too loud or whatever, but like the way this film uses the characters are so stupid. Tobin Bell or Jigsaw is like trusting Amanda, and she's clearly a loose fucking cannon, and that's all just so that we can have the usual downer ending that these films have. And some of the films work with it. The downer ending works for certain films in the series that I'll get to. But here, this ending comes out of fucking nowhere. And I'll have to explain the ending to tell you why I feel that way. But holy fuck, this ending sucks. Like, and also with other characters. Um, Lynn, what does she do? She she gives Jigsaw she does like a brain like a skull thing where she takes out a piece of a skull. She uses a drill and a some type of saw. I can't remember what it's called. It wasn't a jigsaw. That would have been funny actually. Um, to like relieve pressure in the brain because he has a tumor or something, and she has to keep him alive long enough for Jeff to get there. Um, that's about all she does in the film, and after she's done that, Amanda's just there to be like, "Oh, oh, Amanda, you lost your test. Your test was to let her live." And it's like, Jigsaw, this woman is fucking innocent, and you just let an innocent woman get killed, and that's where hit Jigsaw's whole ideology starts to fall apart, where it's like, oh, he's not a murderer. He technically never murdered anyone. In the first film, Danny Glover gets his throat slit by Jigsaw. And I know that's not when he dies in that film, but it leads up to him dying, like later in the film. So he can say all he wants about how he's a pacifist and those people killed themselves, he gave them a chance at life, but that's bullshit. That's complete bullshit. Another thing with the characters, Angus McFadden as Jeff. Again, I think he's a really good actor, Angus McFadden. He's in a film called 45 with Milla Jovovich. Watch that movie. Go into it blind, just knowing that it's a drama, and I think you'll really like all of the performances. But here, he does a really good job acting, but he's given nothing to work with because he's given a very unlikable character who basically is not paying attention to the daughter that's alive because he's obsessing over the death of his son. And I can understand that to a point, but when it gets to the point where you're like yelling at her for no fucking reason, for like cuddling a toy that was the brother's. Yeah, maybe. Did you ever think maybe she's missing the brother? But like, and in every trap that he comes across, he's like, oh, why didn't you save him? You could have saved my son. and they're like, "No, I'm still a human just like your son was." And it just gets really fucking repetitive. This movie, that's a word I can use for this movie, repetitive. Because every trap plays out the same, except one. But you know what happens with the one that doesn't happen with? The guy dies during the next trap from stupid fucking writing. Darren Lynn Bousman is not a good director. I'm saying it right now. Saw 2 was a fucking fluke. Kevin Gruder did all the work, I bet, as the editor. He's the reason that movie worked. Charlie Clouser's the reason the movie worked. Lee Wannell. I don't believe for a second Darren Lynn Bousman wrote all the shit that happened in Saw 2 because Saw 2 made sense. This is an overlong slog. I understand that I watched the unrated cut and it was almost 2 hours long. I understand that. This is the longest Saw film, and thank God it's over with because I can't go through with another 2 hour long Saw movie. Apparently, the most recent one is like 2 hours. I don't know. It seems better because it's directed by Kevin Gruder, who did 6 and 7, which are some of the better ones in my opinion. But um, this one, oh yeah, Donnie Wahlberg, fucking Eric Matthews' character. What does he get to do in this film? He wakes up at the beginning of the movie. He smashes his foot so he can get out of the restraints, and then he has a small fight with Amanda, which is a flashback. Nothing really develops his character. Great. Carrie, Dina Meyer's character. Um, she's like, "Oh, where is Eric? I want to know where Eric is. This is that's a missing persons case, not a homicide case." And then she gets captured, and then she's put in an unwinnable trap. That's another issue. Amanda made her own traps. There's this classroom trap, there's that trap, and there's the tub trap from the first movie. Apparently, this entire time was Amanda's trap where she made it so that the key could never be found. As soon as he woke up, the key would fall down the drain, which at least explains why it was unwinnable. And it doesn't explain why she goes back to suffocate him to death with a plastic bag. Adam, uh, Adam was apparently alive, and she suffocated him to death and just left his body there to turn into a rotting corpse. Um. Oh yeah, I completely fucking forgot that they introduced Mark Hoffman in this film. And I won't spoil anything here because he's an important character in the later films, but Costas Mandylor's here for one scene, barely even an entity. I completely forgot he was in the film. Maybe this is a scene that's only in this cut of the film, this unrated cut, but I could have sworn he was introduced in the fourth one. But and Betsy Russell is Jill Tuck. She doesn't have any lines. She's just in a flashback while Jigsaw's like almost dead. And she's another character that I'm not big on. But like this film is a fucking clusterfuck. It is. It's a clusterfuck. It's way too long. Again, it's like an hour and 55 minutes with credits. It is way too fucking long. A Saw movie, especially one with this little plot, does not need to be this long. And I bet you at least 20 minutes of that could have been cut out. Because this feels like an hour and a half movie in the shell or coat of a 2 hour film. Because there is not enough story here. There's not enough content. There just isn't. This film has like nothing at all to it. It's very it's very hollow on content. And I don't know I don't know why this film turned out this bad. It shouldn't have when the last film I thought was actually pretty good. Again, not really diving too much from the first Saw because it feels like Darren Lynn Bousman just wants to make another Saw rather than what Kevin Gruder did. And to a lesser extent, David Hackle with Saw 5. I remember Saw 5 not being terrible. I remember it having its moments. It has memorable moments, and so do 6 and 7. But I just don't fucking know. It's this film was rough to sit through. It really was. And that's something I cannot say for the first two because the first one is fantastic in my opinion, and the second one is good. I didn't have issues sitting through them. And even though the first one was a bit closer to 2 hours than an hour and a half as well, the first one was paced better. It didn't have long, drawn out sequences of characters looking at other characters in agony. And I can see what people calling this third one torture porn because the second one still was at a point where it felt like a thriller still. From what I remember, three, four, and five, three and four at least, are more torture porn. Because the fifth one, most of the traps I remember being kind of like over and done with. It's like, oh, quick, like explosion, head cut off, that kind of stuff, which isn't exactly torture. It's more horror movie, I guess. But with this film, I can fucking see it. This film lingers on stuff too much. There are certain traps that are very dependent on certain things. There's the one with the naked woman tied up, getting cold water like sprayed on her as she's in a freezer, and just randomly, like 2 seconds after the lock doesn't have like any ice on it, and she doesn't have any ice on her, he looks away, looks back 5 seconds later in real time, and everything is frozen. Like that's a big continuity error just to have like a death. And like again, if you want more characters so that you can have like more variety, so you can have certain characters live, that would be great. You know what movie had that? The sixth film. The fifth film had characters live. Characters lived. So it didn't feel like everything was, you know, well, I mean the fourth film too has characters live, so it doesn't feel like, oh, everything is just there to be gore. That's why this film pisses me off so much. Literally no one survives. Literally. Literally no one associated in this game survives. In the second film, you know who survived? Amanda and fucking Detective Matthews' kid. In the first one, you know who survived? Fucking Carrie Elwes' character, the doctor. This one, no one. No one survives. So why should I care? And also, when Amanda's making her own traps, they're like, oh, they were never meant to be one. Why should I care? Why should I care anymore if the traps are unwinnable? Why? Explain to me why the fuck I should care. They're unwinnable, so there's no way to win them. Therefore, like they're proving people right when they call these movies torture porn, or at least that one torture porn. Like, and again, I think that five, six, and seven kind of go away from the torture porn angle for the most part. Well, at least five and six. Seven does still have a bit of it for sure, but yeah, I guess I'll just have to get to them when I get to them. But yeah, it's just this movie is hard to talk about. I'm already almost at 20 minutes. Things I liked, again, the score from Charlie Clouser. He still does a great job. The editing from God damn it. I'm so like I'm so over this. Kevin Gruder. Editing from Kevin Gruder still really good. Still has that textbook Saw feel and look to it. The film looks well made at least. Again, fucking Tobin Bell, Angus McFadden still do really good jobs, even though Angus McFadden's character is written to be a fucking idiot and slow as fuck. It just overall, this movie is just not good. It's not. to me. It's really rough to sit through a movie like this that's like way too long. The characters are idiots, and it just pisses me off. So that was my review of Saw 3. Let me know what you thought in the comments down below. And movie reviewer next door out.